Okay, so another basement testing video here. Last time I talked about the difference between the Yokomo YZ10, the 95 model that I have with the 97 upper deck, and my Kyosho Inferno 10E, and how they, are both quite good in terms of handling and jumping, and it's very hard to tell any real difference between the two, at least from, basic initial testing here in the basement. So it's really going to boil down to the 13.5 class four-wheel drive cars, the more classic buggies, if you will. So this is the Kyosho Lazer ZXRR. This is the Yokomo YZ10 93 Works. I've made a bunch of videos about the 93 Works. I only have a couple of videos about the Lazer here. So we're going to compare these two and see how they compare. Okay? I think I know how this is going to turn out because I've already done this a few times, but I at least wanted to document it for you guys in video form here. So let's see, let's plug this in just like this, and what do we got? There we go. On you go. All right. YZ10. So as you can see, this dives quite a lot, kind of like the Cat 2000 and also the 95 YZ10, just the way that I tend to set them up to make them feel kind of plush. The front does tend to dive a bit under braking. So, it's a smooth car. It did take me some effort to get it to be able to turn relatively sharply in both the left and right directions. For some reason, I can't remember what the reason was. Something to do with how the steering rack was set up and how certain things were aligned. I don't quite recall. But anyway, let's do a little corner radius test here. So park it right at the edge. Let's see how we are. Okay, that's not bad. That's pretty sharp. And then we'll do the same from the other end. So pretty good. So far the only four-wheel drive buggy that I've tested in this series so far that has on-power push is the Cat 2000 EC, which I have right there. So I'm going to play around with the setup on that a little bit. But yeah, this car is as good as I remember it. Really great car. Now let's do some jumps. A little off center there. So it actually jumps and lands quite nicely. I did a few things to enable that. On the rear, I moved the hub carriers down, give the car more droop. So you use the upper mounting hole on the inner hinge pin for the hub carrier. Gives you more of a droop. On the front, there's no hub carrier height option. You just have to basically use a longer shock eyelet at the bottom to make the shock effectively longer, give you more front droop. But yeah, really good. Really, really good. This car is nice. I like it a lot. Oops. I keep doing that. My bad. I'm supposed to be better at this. Oopsies. Alright. Let's do a couple more jumps with this. Just get a good feel for it, and then we'll bring out the Lazer. So another thing is, how the car behaves if you take off a little cockeyed. I don't necessarily do that on purpose, just sometimes it happens to do that. But it's nice to be able to test for that, without having to go to the track to do that. Because some cars are different. Some cars don't really like to land, off-center, if you will. They're just not very good with it. And what I've tended to notice is that the cars that are less good at that tend to be narrower. So the Kyosho Lazer, before I updated, used wider wheel hubs. It had narrower wheel hubs. It wasn't quite as good at jumping. But now that I made the car wider, sorry, not with wheel hubs, with wheel hexes, I made them wider, that seems to make it jump a lot better. You can see there I pitched the car forward just with a little dab of the brakes. Okay, now that's not something you can necessarily do if you have the center one way on the YZ10, because that'll just let the front wheels freewheel. So this, like all my YZ10 runners, like the 93, the 95, the 94, they all have locked center pulleys. And that allows you to basically drive the car like a modern four-wheel drive buggy. Alright. But you do notice on this one, you know, the nose tends to lift from time to time, going off jumps, but that's just an attitude that you can change with throttle and brakes in this case, while in the air. So far, you know, this is very nicely set up. I'm pretty happy with it. Can't complain. And as yet another point of affirmation for how good the YZ10 can be if you put in enough detail and effort into setting it up correctly. I understand from some people who used to race back in the 90s at like the national and world level that, you know, they didn't run four-wheel drive buggy that often. They mostly ran two-wheel drive and stadium truck, and they only ran four-wheel drive a couple times a year. So they probably don't have actually as much time, cumulative time, to figure out how to set up this car well than I have, which is kind of strange, because I am not a world-class driver. But I'm not bad. Okay, now let's get out the Lazer. So go here. Lazer ZXRR. All right. All right. I can tell it's probably sharper handling. So let's do corner radius test. It's interesting. A lot of the four-wheel drive buggies are coming out right about there, which I wasn't expecting. I thought, you know, some of them were going to be sharper than others. But just doing figure eights, and this thing feels like the corner's a lot sharper, oops, than the YZ10. Certainly the rear is a little bit looser. I can bring the rear around a bit more, and that's what helps it rotate more than on the Yokomo. And that's really just like a roll center and camber gain setting more than anything else. It's not fundamental to the chassis. You see, I can really whip the rear around, but it still stays planted. It's not like it's unstable or anything. Oops. What's going on here? Oops. Maybe the steering got stuck somehow? Alright, let's do some jumps. Oh, looks like there's something wrong. The steering rack, what happened here? Oh, I bet it's one of the king fins. They do tend to come out. No, it's not that. What is it? No. It's peculiar. There's the servo saver. Alright, I'll have to fiddle with that later. Looks like the steering's off center, even though it's not supposed to be. Oy. That's weird. Alright, steering notwithstanding, that's something I gotta figure out. Otherwise... wow, this is making it really challenging. Jumps really nice and level. The nose doesn't kick up quite like the 93 works. Man, that is a pain in the ass. Alright, what is going on with this thing? I will bet you it might be something related. Well, yeah, maybe that servo saver like skipped a tooth or something. I'm not sure. Why is it off center like that? Okay, let's see. Let's just do a quick sub trim adjustment. That's 10L. There we go. Let's do that. Quick fix. Just band-aid it. Alright, see, nice and level. The nose never gets too high up like this. It's always nice and level. So they land similar in the 93 works and the Lazer, but the Kyosho tends to be a bit more even on takeoff. Really nice. Alright, so let me set this back. It was on 10L. That's what it should be. I will sort this one out later. So why that steering's off? It shouldn't be like that. So anyway, as you can see, they both handle nicely. There's just minute differences in detail in terms of how they handle. So, you know, the corner radius is comparable. They feel sharp. They're both smooth. This one clearly, at least the way it's set up right now, I can kick the rear around a little more. I can be a little more aggressive on cornering with it, and it still feels good. It doesn't feel unstable. They both jump fine, although the front front nose tends to go high on jumps on the 93 works. Again, this is all with just how the cars are set up now. I can always change that with different setup. The Lazer is more even. So on balance, I'd say the Lazer is probably the one to take between the two, at least until I can sort out the nose kick-up issue on the 93 works, and then it's sort of back to square one. They're both, you know, very comparably good. If anything, even if they were exactly the same, I would probably still argue for the Lazer for the time being, just because it's more adjustable. You know, the inner camber link mounting points on the YZ10 were always kind of a weak spot. They didn't have that many points. Like the 93 works, there's 2 holes here on the rear tower and 2 on the front tower. The 95, the front is basically not adjustable other than the shock geometry. The rear, if you have the 95 camber link plate, you got a few holes there, but that's it. The Lazer, you know, you get basically a whole matrix of holes here, plus the rear hub carrier, all the holes there. There's quite a lot. And then on the front, you got 3 holes here on the ZXR tower, plus different mounting options if you want to choose them for the outer link. For the camber link, you can mount all the way out here, or you can mount over the kingpin. Okay, so there's more tunability. So yeah, right now I'm thinking I'll probably take the Kyosho 4-wheel drives to Vonats this year, but we'll see. You know, maybe maybe I'll change my mind later on in the year. But that's kind of where I am right now. So that's it for the time being. Thanks for watching.